First of all, the structure about the second conditional. So you need to use if. So this means see, right? And then the past simple, and then you would use would and or would or wouldn't plus the infinitive. Okay, so let's see like some examples. So you have it like clearer. So, and also this is important, people. So here in this grammar, you always use where for he, she, and it. This is more formal. Was is considered to be informal. Okay, what are the two uses? So we use the second conditional to talk about things in the future that are probably not going to be true. You see, this is important. Things that are not probably going to be true. So maybe you're imagining some dream, just imagination. So for example, if I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. So probably, you see here, probably I won't, or I probably won't win the lottery. So this is like imaginary. If I met the Queen of England, I would say hello. So you're not even making plans to go to England, and that's very difficult to happen. For example, she would travel all over the world if she were rich. She isn't rich, and the possibilities to become rich out of the blue um, are not so simple. Okay, for example, here she would pass the exam if she ever studied. You see the explanation here? She never studies, so this won't happen. So she would pass the exam if she ever studied. Okay, there is a second use. You can use it to talk about things in the present which are impossible. So that's important, okay? Impossible, because it's not true. For example, if I had his number, I would call him. So I don't have his number now, so it's impossible for me to call him. If I were you, you see, this is impossible. You are not me. If I were you, I wouldn't go out with that man. Okay, now important people. This is the structure. See the structure here? You have if, and then you have past simple, and then you use would or wouldn't. So let's see some examples, like the ones that we practice in classes. The most common ones is to make questions like, for example, what would you do? What would you do if? And here is where you start like making all the changes. Okay, I am a man, so this is impossible for me to happen. Imagine that I have be a girl. Okay, so how do you make the change for the past? So what's the change of be in the past? So what would you do if you, so in here, the past of be, and for this topic, everything is where. What would you do if you were? Okay, for example, you're not my child. I'm not your father, right? So what would you do if, I don't know, one member in the class, let's say Camila, what would you do if Camila, and then you want to say fuera, your daughter, let's say, and Camila is singular, but for this grammar, everything is where when you have the simple past. I teach English, so let's imagine this is impossible because I teach English now, and imagine that I have not teach English. So you say, what would you do if? So people, how do you make negation in past? So the negation in past is didn't. So what would you do if you didn't teach? English. For example, I'm gonna create another one here. I don't wear glasses. You see, I don't wear glasses. So imagine that you say, well, what would you do if you wear glasses? So how do you put it in the past, wear glasses? So what would you do if you wore glasses? Okay, so maybe I can create another one. I can create like this one. Okay, I teach English, not math. So I'm gonna create a situation here. The only thing you need for this topic is verbs in past. Especially go and study the irregular verbs in English. Imagine that you have here like teach math. So you would say, what is the past of teach? So you say, what would you do if you taught math, for example, here? I don't have children, so have children. So I don't have. So what's the past of have? So the past would be had. So what would you do if you had children? Okay. Um, let's see a crazy example. See an alien, extraterrestre, alien. So this is not very likely probably to happen. So it's not common and it's almost impossible. So you say, okay, teacher, so what would you do if what's the past of see is saw? So what would you do if you saw an alien? Okay, so recommendation, go study verbs in past. And also remember, use where for he and she, and also the negation in the past is didn't. And also important, people, if you need to use negation like using verb to be, I am a boy, so you want to say maybe, teacher, what would you do if you be not a boy? Okay, for example, the negation, what's the negation for be here? So where is affirmative and weren't is negative. I'm married. So if you want to say, teacher, what would you do if no estuviera? So you say, what would you do if you weren't married, for example? Okay, so guys, that's it for now. So recommendation, study verbs in past, and remember you need to use where for everything. For example, for he, she, and it is where, don't use was. And didn't, and the verb is the negation in past, and the rest of verbs are in past, the regular ones. Okay, so that's it for now, and please keep practicing.